I think they really need to come up with a win here today if they want to take this title. You know, obviously Czechoslovakia are going to be fired up. There's really no love lost between the two teams.
Well, it's all handshakes at the start. Do you think it'll be that way right to the finish?
Well, I think the Czechoslovakians are really going to have to play it hard and physical. Otherwise, I think the Russians could walk all over them.
And the early goal, that will be vital, I think.
Yeah, well, I expect the goaltending will play a big part here. The Czechs have quite often had good goaltending, and as have the Russians. So today it'll be, I would think, probably a test for the goaltenders.
What about this man, J.Johansson, the referee?
Well, both teams tend to chop and hook a little bit, and I can't see him calling an awful lot. I think he'll have to let it flow, otherwise it could be a night for penalties. But I would think he'll try to let the game flow and just keep everybody 5-on-5.
Well, there's not many bums on seats, as they say, in the stadium, but it could prove to be one of the games of the tournament.
Well, they're both class hockey teams, Gary, and you know, it's a shame that the place isn't full, but obviously Sweden being the home nation, obviously they're going to come out and force to watch their home side.
I don't envy that man there, Stanislav Nevsky, the coach of the Czechoslovakian team. I think he's got the biggest job on his hands tonight. Russia against the Czechs then, and we join the action at the start of the first period. J.Johansson, the referee from Sweden, drops the puck. It's the Russians who win early possession and bring it forward through Kravchuk, who dumps it forward. They've got their powerhouse line out there, the Russians, with Bure and Bucev. Kamensky playing the forward line. Here is Kamensky. Uses his defence well, though.
Well, the Russians right away, Gary, they've dumped it in and put the pressure on the Czechs. I think that's probably an indication of what's going to happen here. They have to jump on them early.
Well, Dolana tries to hustle his way through, but that thrust from the Czechs is soon spotted by the Russian defenseman and captain Konstantinov. He gets his team away with an early shot. Good early save from Hartman. He'll be pleased to be in the action.
Well, he's in the game now anyway. They had an early chance on him, and he's come up with a good save, so that'll be him in the game. Especially
against Kamensky, the big guy, because he must be an awesome sight when he comes steaming down the ice.
Well, he went around there real well. He had a nice scoring chance.
He's Bure. He's steaming in. Doesn't get the shot away, though. That's poked away from him by Reznicek.
These Czech defense have looked a little suspect, Gary. They've been burnt twice in the first shift, both on the left side, so that's something they'll have to really start looking at, or that could cause them a lot of problems.
Well, there's Tikhonov, the Steely star. Wouldn't like to play poker against that man.
It's too rich for us, Gary.
I could just about handle a game of cards, a game of snap against those two youngsters, I think. Long shot coming in from the Russians. And a tip there, but Shamnov couldn't get enough on it.
The Russians are really all over them here right now. They've got early pressure, and the Czechs are going to do well to withstand this.
Samak gets it back to point. That's it. It looks like Tuchno, I think.
Tuchno kicked it. It's hard to say.
Zipnik with the blast. Did Tuchno? No, the referee's not giving that one. Tuchno kicks it in.
That's a tough goal to lose, really. It's hard to see from there. It went off somebody's skate, I think, but whether it was directed or not, it's really hard to say. Maybe a better angle.
Well, Dolizal throws himself down, but too late. Ah, there you see it. You called it right. Tuchno.
Well, it's hard to say whether a guy could really direct it in that well, and well, the referee had a better look at it than us, I suppose.
Well, when I say you called it right, it went in off a skate. Whether he deliberately kicked it in or not is another thing. It's the referee's judgment call, though. No goal. Still Russia 0, Czechoslovakia 0. Well, the Czechs have had a lead off there. Do you think they'll pick their game up? Marjan covers up, takes the whistle.
You know, an early break like that sometimes can really help you out. I mean, they were under pressure. The goaltender saved them, and you know, they got let off the hook. That's the first shot that the Russian goaltenders had to stop. So it could be a funny night for him. He may have to just sit there and watch, and then put up with some shots now and again. It's a hard game for a goaltender to play. Keep himself in it.
Well, Tupal will take this face-off for the Czechs, try and win the draw, but he loses out. Kozlov wins it for the Russians, and now they bring it forward.
The Russian defense certainly get involved here, Gary. They push up ice all the time. They're not afraid to get involved in the attack.
Some youngsters in this Russian lineup. Tikhonov experimenting with his lines and indeed experimenting with his players.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of players to choose from, I suppose, and he's never afraid to put the youngsters in. He's always proved that over the years. He quite often has a very young squad.
Smirnov wins it, gets it forward to Zelepukin, but that's Reznicek throwing himself about to block that play from the Russians. Maybe he'll have to do it again. Yes, he will have to do it again. Kozlov with the chance. forced wide though, the youngster. And then can't get his stick to that one, and the Czechs get the chance to break free. Defensive play by Uvajev. Kozlov again, turns it in front. Long shot goes wide from Mironov. Reznicek gets the chance to bring it forward left wing for the Czechs. Sidesteps Uvajev nicely. Goes down, I don't think there'll be a penalty called there. Uvajev gets it along the boards.
Just good back checking there by the Czechs. Or by the Russians. They worked hard to come back. They're not really giving the Czechoslovakians much room.
Jamnov, nice play by Jamnov. Gets it through, gets the shot away. But we saw tough for Czechoslovakia earlier in this tournament, and Hartmann's in there today, and the netminding's been exceptional, hasn't it, in the tournament?
Well, that's the third time the Czech defense have been burnt like that, Gary. Three times the Russians have walked around at quality shots and haven't put it in. You just can't let that happen all night. There's no way the goaltender will stand up like that forever without letting one by.
Just deflected over the blue line by the Russians there, and the Czechs have to go back and regroup and set themselves up.
This could be a long night for the Czechs if they don't start taking the offensive a bit. Particularly a long night for the goaltender.
Well, that's why they play. They like to get 60 minutes of action. Oh, he was wound up for the shot there. And in the end, Gordiuk decided not to blast it.
Well, I think you may see the Czechs have to change a few things, Gary. The way they started off right now, things aren't clicking very well. They've had a couple of breaks, but that's been it. They're really struggling defensively.
A lot seems to happen around that lad there, Bure of the Russian team. He's on the first line along Bucev and Kamensky. He's got some big guys with him. He seems to be the motivator, the one that gets.
Yeah, they've been causing a lot of problems in the last few games. They're always in amongst the goals, and they work really hard. Good work rate.
Stantinov, the captain, keeps it in for the Russians, gets it behind the net. Bure tries to steal. Stantinov comes from point. Bure with the shot, backhand, puts his arms up. Well, I think that was a ploy.
I think that's the old shoot the puck on net and stick your hands in the air and hope there's a goal.
Let's have a look. Does the puck come through the pads? I don't think it does. Takes it well though and gets a nice snappy backhand shot away, but Hartmann covers up.
Well, it's worth a try, I guess. Get the hands in the air, you never know. Yeah. You don't lose anything by trying it.
At least the coach will notice that you had a shot in case he missed it.
There again, the Russians are getting too much room.
Well, they did have room to set themselves up there, and Bure came out to the high slot to turn it round. Knocked in again by Semak. I think they were called offside. Semak's a good player. He rushes forward and helps out now and again.
He's not particularly big either, Gary. He wheels well. He's good and mobile.
Seems to be a defensive forward, and suddenly comes from nowhere to join his fellow forwards, but pushing forward now. Russians dump it in. Gudas goes back to sort things out. Big part of the Czechoslovakian team, the bearded long head, Gudas, number 3. Bit of hustle coming here from Jelinek. This forces the Russians to play it.
The Russians right now just seem to be toying with it. They don't really seem to be going at it as hard as what they can, but they're getting so many chances.
We've seen that, haven't we? The Russians just seem to have an extra gear in the gearbox, and they just slip to it when they have to.
Yeah, they've done that quite often with the
little pad there. I think they know enough Russian and Czechoslovakian to tell each other there was nothing malicious there. There's coach Stanislav Nevsly.
Well, he's got to be concerned. I mean, he's lucky he's been off the hook right now. He could have been down 4-0 already.
Well, he can praise his netminder Hartmann for keeping his side in it. No score then. Still the first period. The Czechs with a chance to break. Dumped forward by Kolnik. Now he's got a chance to build again. Gets a backhand across the crease, but there's no one there, and the Russians get the chance to break.
Well, as close as they've come this period to getting a decent chance of scoring.
Good poke check from Medrick broke it up, but now the Russians come again. Kozlov off the back of Gudas's skate. his Tupal. Lubina. Tupal collects again. Takes a slash from Smirnov for his trouble. Ledrick's helping the attack there for the Czechs. But now they're caught a little bit too far up the ice. He got a piece of that one and steered it into the corner. Mironov feeds Uvajev. Shot that from Uvajev, he got good wood on it. Risks one in this time.
Russians are getting too much time on those points, Gary. There's no way the Czechs can give away that much room back there. They're going to get burnt one of these times. These Russians, they teed up 2 or 3 shots there. Wouldn't be surprised.
Well, goes for icing, and there's Uvajev. Little squint of the eye. I got good wood on it, he says. Just didn't quite work out how I hoped.
Well, he wasn't far off the net, I don't think, on his shot here.
Oh, it was tipped and it hit the post.
Yeah. They've got too much time. That's 3 shots in that one short span of time, and you should never ever give away that many shots in a row like that, especially a team like Czechoslovakia. They got running around.
Well, the Russians have another chance to keep the pressure on Hartmann. It certainly has been Russian pressure so far. Gordy up in the corner, comes up with the puck. Now he loses out. Zemlica gets it forward. The defence helping the forwards again. We've seen a lot of that. Smelik this time. Going in deep now, Zemlica. He was looking for a whistle there, but it didn't come. The Russians were too fiery around there and managed to dig it out. Uvajev gets it forward. Offside whistle there. A little bit scrappy all of a sudden, Alex.
Well, I think when the Russians get into the Czechoslovakian end, they certainly dominate, and they've got the Czechs running in circles. And when the Czechs get in the Russian end, it's a bit scrappy. They don't really have much of a chance along the boards. They're getting out-muscled and out-hustled, really. The Russians are really controlling almost every aspect of the game.
Have to watch for some snipers, though, because it could be a breakaway. You never know, do you?
Well, right now, it's the only way it looks like Czechoslovakia to score a goal if they happen to get a break, because they're not doing enough of anything else.
Tied up in the corner, Volk and Konstantinov. Konstantinov's got help there from Bucajev. Kicking and shoving and rolling around going on there. Konstantinov gets it. Referee did well there, no whistle. Kept it flowing. Kamensky leaves it forward, his captain. Takes it in, fires wide though. They're tied up on the boards. I don't think there'll be any RG. Certainly Russia's game so far, Alex.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Russia are a great hockey nation and a good hockey team. So I mean, there's no reason why we should think Czechoslovakia could dominate them. But Czechoslovakia will get into it, I'm sure, but they're going to have to do it very quickly.
Nummer 20 i Tjeckoslovakien med guld utvisas.
The Globe Arena in Stockholm, the Sweden hockey games, Russia 0, Czechoslovakia 0 in the first period. And, well, we thought it would be a tight game, Alex Dampier, and that's the way it's turning out to be.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens in this power play, Gary. The Czechs are letting the Russians set up, but they're keeping the box very tight around the net, so I think they're just going to allow the outside shots.
Well, Volk in the box for interference. Konstantinov winds up for the big shot. That hit the side of the net. First time for the Russians out there. Bucajev, Kamensky and Bure. But Reznicek gets it forward. 2-line pass, I think, there.
Typical, though, they're going for the long breakaway pass, even though they're on a penalty-killing situation.
I don't think Jelinek was asking for the Russian captain's autograph there. I don't think he'd give it either, Mr. Tikhonov. He won't be pleased. His side's had lots of pressure and no goals to show for it.
Yeah, for guys that are normally real snipers around the net, they just haven't put it away. They've had a lot of chances and no results. But mind you, they hit the post a couple of times. They scored 1 goal. It was disallowed. So, the chances have been there. Interesting to see now what they're going to do with the rest of this power play.
Smirnov drops it off to Bucajev. Bure brings it forward. Spreading, it opens up a little bit for him. He takes it in left wing. It's just hops and popped over the blue line by the Czechs. They managed to clear it.
The Czechs are doing a good job in that neutral zone between the two blue lines. They're shutting everything down. They're not letting the Russians set up, which is an important thing, because once they do get into your zone, they can cause you a lot of trouble.
Well, that's the place to shut off the supply for these forwards. They're in the other end now, but they get the chance to clear. Tichy fires it round the boards. Smirnov's tied up.
This is as good as I've seen any team kill off the Russians' power play, and they're doing it outside their own zones. They're doing a very good job.
Well, it's seeing off the Russian first line. They're changing on the fly now. Kamensky gets it round the back. Bure tries to kick it forward. Semak's gone out to join them. Defence has changed as well. Zitnik waiting on the blue line, hoping to get the chance to blast.
The Russians are very patient. You know, they'll work it around, and give them that one chance, they'll usually put it in.
Nemchinov couldn't get his stick to that. That's the end of the penalty. Christina Elgström tells the fans in the arena. Volk's back in the play. Big save from Hartmann there. Bucajev's shot, I believe. Here comes Volk, straight from the box. Russians will have to be careful. Volk's free. Back of the net.
Serve in the penalty box and redeems his mistake.
How many times do we see that? 10-24 gone.
Look at the other end though, Gary. You know, the Russians had a real key chance to score again. 10 feet out, took a shot and missed. Czechoslovakia come down and score one.
Well, Zemlika heads up hockey, saw Volk free in front. Gave it to Volk and he did what he had to do, didn't he?
Yeah, he buried it.
10-24 gone then. And a Czechoslovakian breakaway against the run of play. Czechoslovakia 1, Russia 0, 10-24 gone. Volk the scorer, assisted Zemlika.
Well, that's a real turnaround. Russia has all the pressure, and then all of a sudden Czechoslovakia turn around and put one in. So if it's going to be one of those kind of nights for Russia, they're going to really have to start working a bit more around the net and put a couple in.
A little bit of hustle wouldn't go amiss now. Marjan drops it off for his defence. Oh, that was a bit casual. Give away. Smirnov goes into the corner to try and win it back for the Russians. It's fired across to the other wing though. Now they've got time to get going and collect their breath. Shamnov plays it forward. Well, that was going to be a two-line pass, and a very lazy two-line pass as well. Kozlov watched it coming and crossed the red line as he watched the puck behind him.
He was lucky he didn't get steamrollered there, Gary. Skating up the ice, waiting for a pass with your head down.
This man, Hartmann, having a good game for the Czechs, and they lead by 1-0 thanks to him. He's kicked some big ones out.
He's been the right choice. You know, the coach certainly made the right decision there, and they put him in. He's made some key saves, I think. He's got to be man of the match, that guy, so far. The Czechoslovakians are good. You know, that goal's done them a lot of good. They've got themselves back into it.
Oh, that looks like a penalty. Is that a penalty from the referee?
Yeah, looks like it's from
me, ref. Zelepukin. Let's watch Zelepukin here. Well, there's a slash.
Well, they should have had a two-hander.
There's a hold. There's an interference. What does the referee call that one? He's got a choice of 3. He goes for holding. 11-18 gone. Valery Zelepukin, 2 minutes for holding. Well, the Czechs have a power play opportunity now to stretch it.
Well, if I was them, the way the Russians are playing, I'd be a little bit nervous about it. The Russians are always dangerous on the penalty killing. They'll seize a chance from anything. Again, interesting to see what Czechoslovakia will do on this.
Well, they bring it forward. Gudas going in, trying to cause problems for Smirnov. Oh, that's a big dive by Otevrill.
Got a bit of a 9-5 on that one, Gary. Although I think he was hooked, there was probably no question that he interfered with his movement forward, but...
Well, they could have had a 5-on-3 power play if he hadn't made so much of it. I think he made too much of it.
Yeah, if he hadn't taken such a dive, he might have got the interference penalty or the hooking penalty.
Gudas gets it forward to him then. Oh, well smothered by the Russians. Gudas looked as though he was tripped there by Kozlov, but that's not given either. Here comes Kozlov.
think Czechoslovakia would be too pleased with this lad at the end of the night as referee.
Maybe his coach Stanislav Nedsley would be worth having a word with about him if we could speak the language. Jelinek comes forward, winds up for the big shot. That's smothered though by Uvajev. Steady defenseman that Uvajev for the Russians. Here he is again.
Czechs really haven't got anything set up here. They've struggled to get any kind of flow to their power play.
I think one of their players is injured at the moment. I think he took a puck in the leg.
The Russians are doing a very good job penalty killing. They haven't let the Czechs settle at all. In fact, they probably had the only good scoring chance of the whole 2-minute penalty.
And the Sledger being helped to the boards. I think he's copped for one above the pads and below the shorts. Well, the healing hands of the doctor. Where does it hurt, son? You always have that look as if to say, don't be stupid, it's me leg. Hurts too much to tell him to. Oh, look, there was a little shout of pain. Well, I wonder if we'll see him again.
Well, the game actually seems as if the Russians really want it right now. They're working hard in every area. Their power play, their penalty killing, 5-on-5s.
Could they trail it by a goal to nil?
Yeah, you know, it's one of these games where you don't get the bounces, you struggle.
Tupal brings it forward for the Czechs. I think that was offside. Didn't quite cross the blue line ahead of the forwards. Delana. So it's Lubina, that one.
Yeah, the Czechs can hold this and come out of the first period with a 1-goal lead. I think they'll be pretty happy over it and regroup between periods and see if they can come up with a little better game plan than what they've got right now.
Well, this power play doesn't appear to be working. Sledger continues to get treatment. Out of shot on the bench. At least he's standing on it now. Oh, that was nearly a very good pass from Medrick. Deceptive play in Medrick on the Czech blue line. Here he is again. Does a lot of work, gets through a lot of ice. So Pukin's back. Now the Russians have a chance. Can they do what the Czechs did and score straight from a penalty kill? Medrick again, nice pass. The Russians are there in numbers.
Yeah, they're outnumbering them everywhere, Gary. On the boards, they've always got 2 men on the puck, and they're just out-muscling them everywhere.
Well, Shamnov circling, but Zelepukin straight from the box does take a shot, albeit off target. Serban circles, tries to sort his troops out. He's got the option of Smelik across the ice, doesn't give it, gives it instead to Robert Lang. Marjan covers up with Zemlika threatening. A little bit of push and shove now. You don't get under them.
Well, they've been fighting each other so long, Gary. You know, and Russia's always had the upper hand as far as world championships are concerned. And every once in a while, Czechoslovakia wins one, and they're battling an awful lot. They play a lot throughout the winter against each other.
Know each other so well. Tend to get a bit frustrated. At the moment, Czechoslovakia having the look of the bounce.
Yeah, Czechoslovakia, though, Gary, they've got close to 30 players playing in the National Hockey League or overseas that'd be eligible to play for their national team. So that's quite a drain for their program. You know, mind you, Russia have got probably equally the same number, but there's a great play.
Bure bursting through, but Kamensky couldn't finish off. Well, that's caught offside. A little bit of a shot there on Robert Lang. This is Kamensky.
That was a nice little chip pass through.
Bure to Kamensky. Takes it in, does everything right on the backhand, and then steams through the crease as well, just to let the goalie know he's there.
Again, the Czechoslovakian defense are a little suspect. You know, they just got walked around there.
Still Czechoslovakia 1 though, Russia 0. Russian forwards coming very deep to pick it up from their blue liners.
Well, they come back and help. I think Coach Tikhonov has made that quite clear that they have to come back into the zone and help out. They just can't wait up the blue line and hope for the quick breaks all the time.
Well, Zipnik manages to keep it in for the Russians and the pressure on the Czechs again. Now Smirnov has a chance, drops it off. Bure's hustling in the corner, Kamensky's there. It just pops over and Konstantinov has to drop back, wheel round and regroup. Oh, it's poked forward, here's Bure. Oh, Bure's going to be sick of the side of Hartmann by the end of this one. Not for the first time, Bure having a good shot on goal and Hartmann denying him. Here's Bure again.
You talk about a goaltender who's earning his keep. This guy has definitely done the job for Czechoslovakia.
And Samak loses out and Reznicek gets it forward for the Czechs. Now the Russians have another chance. Bure again, good turn. Goes to the bench for a change. Russians send their second line out there. Dolizal misses with his shot though. And the Russians come straight back up the ice. Nice move there by Samak. Gets it in deep. Russians just couldn't get it out in front where the danger men were.
Well, they made some decent plays. They just the timing wasn't quite right, I suppose. But they're always dangerous. They're around that net so much. They're bound to put it in eventually.
Well, the Czechs have another chance. They've already got one opportunist goal.
Well, that poor Russian goalie just sitting there. He hasn't really had a lot of work to do, and then all of a sudden he's going to face some shots. And like I say, for the goaltender, that's probably the toughest thing.
Well, Hartmann certainly has had shots to face. His defence finally sought one out this time, and the Czechs get the chance to break through Tupal. Pad saved by Marjan. Got his concentration right that time. Sergejev gets around to Zidnik. But a young defenceman, not quite clearing the zone as his coach Tikhonov would want him to. But he's gaining valuable experience in these Sweden hockey games. One of the youngsters being bloody. He's another one, Kozlov. He's hauled down. Buczajev tries the big shot, and it's smothered by Hartmann again.
Well, Hartmann no chance at all. He just skated right out, took away the angle. He was 15 feet out of the net when he stopped that shot.
Not a lot to aim at. And again, Hartmann, the reason why the Czechoslovakians still lead by a goal to nil. Yeah, Hartmann's earning his corn tonight. Centre ice, the Russians dominating and getting forward and then in the zone, but always the danger that the Czechs will get a snipe away and get one of the snipers down the ice and score on a breakaway, isn't it?
Yeah, they're playing very defensively, and you know they're doing a good job. They're relying on the goaltender an awful lot, but they're waiting on the breaks. It's a hard game, you know. They'd be there all night waiting for a break, and they never get one.
Well, Kastak and Zemlicka weren't far away, so Marjan covers up, takes the whistle. Referee Johansson from Sweden letting the game flow.
I think these Russians have got to get themselves back into it a little bit. It's almost like we were talking earlier, how much they can step it up a gear, and they're going to have to step it up here shortly, or they're going to find themselves going into this period 1-0 down, and it's always tough fighting back at this level of hockey.
Kuchera wins the draw for the Czechs, and they get a quick snapshot away. Chichi's pass goes astray, but he manages to backhand it out anyway. And now he slides it across to his fellow blue liner, Delana. Now Volk, the goal scorer. That was neat, but they haven't gone anywhere.
Well, the Russians are certainly shutting down that neutral zone, Gary. They are a very strong club, like we keep repeating. They seem to be the strongest club we've seen so far. The Czechs are really going to have to try to get something coordinated here. I don't know if it means changing lines or doing something, but they just don't seem to be getting together at all.
Well, here's a chance now because Smirnov's been caught forward, breaking up that Czech attack. He's going deep. That's Kuchera, dumped onto his backside.
You notice the Russians, they had enough guys back. They had 3 men in tight on the boards against 2, and the other 2 players were covering up around the front of the net area. There was no way they were going to give up the boards and give up the puck. They just seemed that much stronger on the boards than on the puck.
Fischer and Dolizal both end up sitting down in the corner, having a rest for the Czechs. They lead it 1-0. I don't think they can sit on the laurels yet.
No, I think, I'm sure if the Russians go in between periods 1 goal down, their coach is going to have a word with them.
Buczajev beats Otto Brell at the draw. This is Kamensky. He's huge. That pass goes astray. Jelinek takes it deep for the Czechs. Finds Otto Brell. He can't collect though, and Konstantinov, the Russian captain, collects for the big red machine. Kamensky shuffles it forward. Buczajev goes looking. Just Kravchuk nearly got the shot away, couldn't, and now they're caught out. And the Czechs make something of this. I think we're getting a high sticking penalty.
There might have been an incident back behind the play, Gary, but it almost looked like the Czechoslovakian was as much to blame as the Russian player here.
Let's get another look at it. I don't know what referee Johansson was looking at. They bump into each other.
Both sticks were up. You couldn't really say that it was either one of them.
I'd have called it 6-1, half a dozen of the other. The referee from Sweden calls it high sticks. 2 minutes in the box for Buczajev. So Mr. Tikhonov, as if he didn't have something to talk about come the interval, in 32 seconds time we'll have something now. The Russians will finish the first period short-handed unless the Czechs stretch their lead.
Well, this isn't what the Russians need right now. The last thing they need is Czechoslovakia to go up 2-0 on them.
Well, the Czechs could do with something better to get it going. They wouldn't have minded going in 2-0 up. Got 30 seconds of power play. They look as though they're winding the clock down at the moment.
This Russian team, they're well drilled. They've got a good system. They work well together. They're all good skaters.
There's the hooter. It's been a good first period. Lots and lots of Russian pressure. The only goal of the game went to the Czechoslovakians, scored by Peter Volk, assisted Richard Zemlika. Shots on goal tell a story, don't they? All that Russian pressure, 16 shots on goal, 6 for the Czechs, and they get a goal from Volk at 10:24. First interval, Czechs lead 1-0. The Sweden hockey games from the Globe Arena in Stockholm. Start of the second period. The Czechs with a 1-goal advantage. This is Gary Mann and Alex Dampier. And Alex, I think the Czechs lucky to be in the lead.
Oh, they're really lucky. Right now, I'm sure the Russians are going to come out fired up. They've had a lot of chances. They had a lot of run of the play, but at the end of it all, they were down 1-0.
Well, let's see what they can do about it. Second period. Czechoslovakians will have had a pat on the back from their coach, Nevsley, Stanislav Nevsley. He'll have been pleased to get out of that first period, despite all the Russian pressure, with a 1-goal advantage. And they're on the power play now at the start of this second, thanks to that penalty late in the first period to Buczajev for high sticking. 90 seconds of power play at the start of this, but you wouldn't think it to look at this from the Russians. Oh, Kamensky just went too far, then circled round and got a good shot away, which was saved on the pads by Hartmann, but
I think he was just mad there. He wanted to hurt somebody. He just missed a clean chance to tie the game.
Short-handed, he's Bure. This time he doesn't get it through, and it's taken out by Zitnik. Zitnik brings it forward, goes deep with it, and Czechs have a chance on the power play to do some damage. Covered up by Marjan on the shot. Zitnik got a nice shot away there. The Czechs bided their time.
Well, you know, that break they had at the other end against Czechoslovakia, that just summed up the whole Russian game right now. All the chances and no goals.
Well, they've earned better luck than they've had so far, the Russians. Now they're really having to work because they're on penalty kill duty still. They finished the penalty. Oh, a fluff on the shot there by Dolizal.
Very similar power play to what the Russians were using, trying to get a man in behind the box and get the first time shot. Both of them tried it and both missed.
Well, Budas fires it round. We're at even strength. The Czechs still lead it 1-0 in the second period here in Stockholm.
I think he's a crossbar there, Gary. Looks at that shot.
Well, Dolizal was mad, wasn't he? Because he'd fluffed on the earlier opportunity. Got a good shot away then. Oh, everyone's in the goal. Except the puck. Marjan.
I think that the Czechoslovakians were very close to putting another one in there. So we get another look at it. Here we are.
There's Dolizal's shot. Yeah, that wings off the crossbar. And then they get another opportunity straight afterwards. Dolizal. And J.Namestnikov nearly beats Marjan. But the defenseman pats him on the helmet afterwards and says thank you.
Well, it'll be a different game now. If Czechoslovakia are coming out to play like that, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Russians from here on in.
There's points to be had for the Czechs if they just want to work for them. Fight around the boards there.
It's a great reward for anybody to beat the Russians, I think, Gary. So the Czechs will be working that much harder.
Konstantinov tries the long shot. Hartman turns it into the corner. We'll get an icing whistle.
Seeing a little more contact too. There's a couple of hits going on, and maybe that's the start of something. Maybe the Russians are going to have to start muscling them around in the corners a little bit and try to force some errors.
There's Marjan, the Latvian netman. They'll slide you back in the action. His legs working again after taking that puck above the pads and below the shorts. It's a face-off just to the left of Hartman, deep in Czechoslovakian territory. And the Czechs come up with it. Haven't cleared it yet, though. Gordiuk keeps the pressure on. Now they get the chance to clear through Smelik. Now it's dumped in. Marjan tips it just to make sure it goes well wide. Falling on the boards, though. Oh, a bit of an elbow thrown there by Robert Lang. Czechoslovakian fourth line out there now. Robert Lang. Bit of a hook, not called.
What's your favorite Czechoslovakian player, Gary?
Yeah, it's got nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that his name's the easiest one to pronounce on the roster. Robert Lang, I think he's a cracking player and he should get more ice time. That wasn't a bad pass. And a shot by Kastak off the shoulder of Marjan. Now the Russians try to bring it forward. Bure stretches and keeps himself onside. Uvajev, good defenseman. Didn't show too many skills on the attack there for the Russians. He gets back now. Here comes Zemlika, trying to get something going. Czechs quite happy to go deep and work it forward. Good forechecking by the Russians though, forcing them to play. And in the end, it gets the result they were looking for, a coughed up puck. And the Russians get the chance to build themselves.
But at least, Gary, the Czechs haven't sat back and just tried to rely on a one-goal lead. They've gone at the Russians again and had a couple chances themselves to score. So they're certainly not just going to sit back and hope that one goal will carry them through the night.
Acrobatic stuff again from Reznicek at one end, and then the big shot from the other at the feet of Delana. Got that one away well, really. Puck was a bit close to his body and still got the shot away. Seems to have opened up all of a sudden. Centre ice seems to be anyone's territory.
Well, the Czechs are playing that much better right now, I think. They seem to be more into it. They're playing a little bit more aggressive. They seem to have built up a little bit of confidence. They're skating with the puck and creating a few more chances.
6'3" Kamensky bustles and hustles his way through, but the offside whistle goes anyway. Well, there's a little Czechoslovakian mascot. I think it's a Czechoslovakian mascot.
It's a good guess anyway, Gary. 1 of 2.
I'm sure it was a Czechoslovakian mascot. Here come the Czechs. Reznicek fires it forward, goes all the way. Whistle there, he went close enough to several Russians to play it. Surprised that we get icing there. Marjan trying to keep supple and warmed up, and is that fan imitating him?
Well, there's not many people in the stadium. Might be just chilly in there, Gary.
Yeah, trying to keep warm.
There's only about 2,000 people in there, so
Marjan's trying to keep warm at the Russian end of the ice. The long spells first period. He had very little to do, but his side do trail it by 1-0. Nice back pass from Jelinek, and this is Gudas on the break, the defenseman. Can he hold his head? Yes! Well, that's not a bad goal for a big defenseman. Leo Gudas, 5:23 gone. Nice pass from Thomas Jelinek on the 360 turn and the backhand pass. And Gudas keeps his head.
I think he was going to take that puck in no matter what, Gary. If that thing was going near the goalie, he was going to take it in with his feet if he had to. He did great play though. The Russian got a hook on him. He still managed to make a good play with one hand on the stick.
Smirnov, the defenseman, gets wood on him there in the ribs, on the arm, flattens him. Gudas ends up in the back of the net where the puck had gone before him. Gets up off his knees to the congratulations from his teammates. Leo Gudas, 5:23 gone, 2-0 to score.
That was a good example of a defenseman coming into the play. You know, chance was there and he was gone. You know, that's one thing they're not afraid to try. These Russian Czechoslovakian teams, doesn't matter who can get away, they go if they got the chance in the open ice.
Well, they broke down the ice twice now and scored 2 goals against the run of play. And if the Russians do have a spare gear to slip to, it's now the time to hit it.
Well, you know, the Czechoslovakians, I think, have had a fair amount of the play in this second period. They've been unlucky not to have scored a few more goals.
Good shot there. And the Russian captain Konstantinov trying to help his forwards out.
Well, they were looking for a quick break there and ended up with a 2-line pass, but 2-0 down. The Russians are going to have to do something here quick. They're going to have to find a way by this guy right here. Hartman's just doing too much, too many acrobatics, and he's in front of the play all the time.
Referee Johansson still letting it flow. I think Hartman would settle for a few more whistles, wouldn't he?
Well, it's funny, you know, Hartman, they were saying that he wasn't really the top goalie that they expected. He's turned out to be, he's saving them right now.
Well, the Czechs lead it by 2-0. They have opened up this second period, and here they come again. Fakes one shot, fakes another shot. And Kastak in the end gets nothing going for his team. Reznicek shuffles it out to the wing. It's Kastak again. This time he gets the shot away, but it's wide. Well, my favourite player there, Robert Lang, comes up with it on the backhand, spins and shoots, but it's kicked out of the way by Mironov. And then Marjan covers up and plays it with the big glove to Mironov. He's a chance now for the Czechoslovakians to stretch it by Peter Volk, and that would have just about finished it off, a 3-goal spread. Volk seems to get involved everywhere.
Gary, that fourth line of Czechoslovakia has really done a lot of work out there. They've created a couple scoring chances, and they're up supposedly against the number 1 line.
Big shot and a cover up from Marjan on the shot by Zemlika.
The Russians seem to be lost a little bit here right now. They're struggling a bit in their own end. The Czechoslovakians had 4 good quality shots in the last few minutes.
Well, we've already in this tournament seen them beat Finland and beat them well. But
I actually thought the Russians would have come out here and probably blown Czechoslovakia out, really. I mean, we say we thought it would be a tight game and everything, but Russia are a strong team. And with the number of chances they've created tonight, they could have quite easily been up a few goals. But right now, it's the Czechoslovakians taking the game to them.
Well, the Czechoslovakians have had the bounce of the puck so far. Will it continue that way? Volk works on the boards. This time the Russians come up with it. Bure hustling his way through. Nice start to him, this lad. Kamensky goes behind. Buczajev tries the backhand shot, but it's a weak one. Kushera gets a chance to feed Delana.
Another big chance.
The Czechs really coming back into it now. They're 2-0 up, and they've decided to take the game to the Russians. They've got a 2-goal lead.
Well, the Russian goaltender came up and made a big save. And it just shows the good standard he is. He's been sitting there for quite a while, not with a lot of shots. And he's had to make 3 or 4 or 5 good saves in the last 5 minutes.
Well, Konstantinov, the Russian captain, in deep.
Looks like we've got a penalty coming here.
Well, he's pointing at Otevril. And his indication is cross-checking. So Czechoslovakian Otevril might cost his side dear there. Oh yeah, straight in the back. And he'll sit out for 2 minutes. The Russians get a power play opportunity to come back into it, but at the moment the scoreboard reads, after 2 periods of hockey in Stockholm in the Sweden Hockey Games, Czechoslovakia 2, Russia 0. Approaching the halfway mark then. The Czechs still lead 2-0, but they're on penalty killing duty now. Otevril, 2 minutes for cross-checking. 8:45 gone, the time on the penalty. Kozlov gets it across to the left wing for Russia. And Buczajev tries to get something going, the first line out there. Bure and Kamensky. It's fired down the ice, no whistle of course, they're short-handed.
It's tough, Gary, the penalty itself coming after a goal, and the Czechs really, wasn't really a serious penalty considering what's been going on.
So from Marjan, Czechoslovakia showing that they can do something short-handed. Well, he's gone down, is that a penalty? Referee Johansson letting things go. One aside
seems to be if you do any kind of heroics or the 9-5s, you don't get the 2-minute penalty, you just better fall down.
Just take it as it comes.
These Russians were the original Olympic divers, so I think everybody's fed up with it.
It's fired out in front, and Sergejev gets a soft shot away. And the Czechs manage to get it out. And here comes Lubina. It's a lot of ice time on the special teams for the Czechoslovakians. Now the Czechs have another chance. Sledger finds his man Tupal, but no joy. The Russians are scrambling it forward on the power play. Big save from Hartmann again. On the shot line.
Sledger diving around and behind there, Gary.
Look at it. Well, we got a penalty on the play.
I don't know if Sledger thought he was the goaltender. What was going on there? He's on his knees and laying down behind the net.
Well, he's dropped his stick there, Sledger. Just watch Sledger behind the play. The shots come in, Hartmann does it. Sledger's got his stick the wrong way round. He's down on his knees. And he's throwing himself around.
Well, he's not going to let that puck in anyway, Gary. Any way you look at it.
Well, that was a great play from the guy. Give him credit. He injured his leg earlier. Got a penalty on the play. At the end of all that, referee Johansson sends Zemlica. For 7 seconds, the Russians will have a 2-man advantage, cross-checking the call against Zemlica. But the medal for heroics to Sledger, up off his knees behind the net and into the back of the net, sticking it the wrong way round. I think he was going to head it out.
Well, he was prepared to stop it any way he had to.
So we've got a 5-on-3 power play to the Russians. They trail it by 2 goals, 2-0. Czechoslovakia leads it in the Globe Arena. I think we'll see some quick-fire action from the Russians. They've got 7 seconds to try and get a goal on the 5-on-3. The shot comes in, Hartmann gets a piece of it, that one goes wide. Well, the Czechs get back to 4 men. Still a power play though to the Russians. Zemlica still in the box. Bure.
The Russians have parked somebody out front for a change. They got somebody standing right in front of the goaltender.
Kravchuk launches one. straight into Hartmann's glove.
Good surprise, really, Gary, the shot that high up. They had a guy standing directly in front of the goaltender. I would have thought the play would have been to lay it down for a screen shot, keep it low.
And the Russians have got their first line up. Not a bad shot, but comfortably enough on the glove side for Hartmann to deal with.
You're not going to beat that guy from the blue line with a 3-foot high shot.
Not the way he's been playing in this one. He's the reason the scoreboard reads the Czechs 2, the Russians 0. But the Russians still on the power play. Bure at right wing, Kamensky, Buczajev takes the draw. The Czechs nearly get it round. Do they get it out? Yes, they do. Kravchuk feeds it across to Buczajev. Now Konstantinov. Kamensky tries to get it forward. Konstantinov again.
Well, the Czechs are standing him up well.
And this is Kravchuk. Following Bure. I think he stuffed it in, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Bure took it in with the defenseman Kravchuk riding shotgun behind him. Power play goal, 5-on-4.
Was that a rebound, Gary, or just managed to slip through his legs? It's hard to see.
Good pass from Bure, drops it off nicely.
Maybe it just worked through, huh?
Well, that's a defenseman scoring. Second time we've seen a defenseman scoring. So Gudas go the length for the Czechs. And this time it's Kravchuk. Nice level head on him. Stuffs it home.
Barely made it over, too.
Well, they all count. No one counts for Kravchuk.
Well, it's been a while since we've seen the Russians congratulate each other like that. They seem a little bit pumped up over this one. I don't think they like losing to Czechoslovakia, Gary. It's a bit of a sore point with them.
Well, we're in the second half. Certainly the first half belonged to the Czechs, despite all that Russian pressure. They took a 2-goal lead. And now the big red machine, as they like to call it, is back into it. They've got another opportunity here, but that's well smothered. Long shot from point by Sergejev. He goes for a change. Mironov mops up for the Russians and gets his side forward. Stantinov tries to take it in. Nemchinov loses out. The Czechs get the chance to clear. Volk. Now the Russians can break again. Up and down play at the moment. Gordiuk lines up for the big shot. Gudas broke his stick blocking it, but did enough.
Well, now it appears the Russians are back into the game, Gary. That one goal has really fired them up, so I think the Czechoslovakians will have to be on their toes here. They could find themselves with a tie game anytime.
Kozlov can't win the draw for the Russians, and the Czech defence get the chance to bring it forward. Kolnik tries to get it through to Lubina without success. And now the Russians bring it forward. Kvartalnov. He loses out, and the Czechs again bring it forward.
Well, you know, it's not very often anybody keeps the Russians to one goal. You know, they've got to be doing something right, and obviously tonight's the goaltending, but still they're working hard. They're keeping the Russians away from the net just now.
Tupal comes to the bench. He's not had as big a game as he had before. Well, that youngster's had enough of this one. We saw him earlier mimicking the netminders' exercises. Now he's gone to sleep. Let's hope Marjan doesn't do the same for the Russians' sake.
So the Czechoslovakian goalie doesn't go to sleep.
Semak brings it in deep for the Russians. The Czechs get the chance to clear. Zemlika tries to fire it in off Marjan. The keeper had the stable door shut there. Zemlika again for the Czechs. Doesn't get the bounce this time. Well, that looked like a trip. But again, perhaps he made too much of it. That goes all the way. As it goes into the crease area, there's no whistle. Sergejev's, though, is called for icing.
Well, it's got a little scrappy again, Gary. It's both teams are working very hard, but I think right now, again, the Russians are starting to take control of the game. The Czechs will have to be a little bit careful now coming in towards the end of the period. The last thing they need now is let Russia tie up. They'd like to go in with that 1-goal lead into the third period.
Wants a face-off just to the left of Marjan, the Russian keeper. The Russian defence certainly going mob-handed to try and make sure they've got it. Here's a break from Bure. Bucaev can't mop up for him though, and the Czechs get the chance through Kuchera. Oh, his soft shot doesn't go anywhere. And the Czechs keep it in. That's offside. Halfway through the second then, it's still Czechoslovakia 2, Russia 1. And the Czechs still lead it 2-1. Well, we thought it would be tight, but I don't think we thought it would be tight in favour of the Czechoslovakians, really, in our heart of hearts, Alex.
Well, I think, you always like to say it'd be tight. I really thought the Russians, the way they've been playing, would have had a 4 or 5 goal spread on Czechoslovakia. They just look too strong. Every other team they've played, they just they can dominate whenever they seem to want to. But I must say, Czechoslovakia have done their job tonight. They've done their homework.
Well, in this little passage of play, it's been Czech possession rather than Russian. Bure for the Russians loses out, and the Czechs back check well. Nothing on for them though. Dolizal resorts to passing back to Reznicek. Now they get it forward. Through Lubina, takes it in, backhands it round the boards. Whatever, covers up. I hope we're not going to play from time all the way to the final hooter.
Well, there's been a lot of work out here tonight. There's been some key players on both teams putting in a lot of ice time. So, yeah, I'm sure they're all in great shape. I can't see fitness coming into it at all. Oh, he's a little excited, I think, Gary. I think he can possibly see now and again the game slipping away on him, and he's got to be concerned.
Well, Coach Nevsley's side do still lead it. Marjan gets a piece of wood on that one to tip it away. On the shot from Sledger. Medrick helps cover up and plays it around the boards. Sledger's had an eventful game, hasn't he? That little spell in the goal crease on his knees and the injury earlier. He'll remember this one.
It's been the highlight. So the Czechs are getting a little more physical now again. Garrett's seen a few more hits coming behind the play, so maybe a bit of frustration too. They've missed the net a few times.
Nemchinov gets it forward. There's an attempt at a diving shot. Mironov, but nothing came of it. He goes back to help on defence. Oh, chance for Kozlov in the crease. I wonder whether it would have been given because he was well in the crease.
I keep saying that's where Russia are dangerous. They get into that offensive zone and they just wheel around in there, and the Czechs are sometimes just lost. They don't really have an answer for it.
The Great Britain national team played a Russian club side earlier this year as they prepared for the World Championships.
Yeah, so we know all about getting run around in our own end zone.
I was going to say, what did you learn as national coach?
A bit of a merry-go-round, that one, Gary. It was a good learning experience for everybody, I think.
Well, we called a penalty there at 17:13 of the second period. Zelapukin, 2 minutes for interference. As we've said, and as you found with the national team, Alex, when a Russian side is down to 4 men, they can be just as dangerous, if not more so.
Well, yeah, they're a very strong nation. We talk about North America being strong, but the Russians, they've got some real areas of concentration that they've got a lot of hockey players, and they've got some good programs. Basically, they're all professional.
You played one of their top sides, top 10 First Division sides, Togliatti, and lost all three. But you learned lessons which you'll take to the World Championships, albeit at a lower level than these two teams we're watching today play at. Here come the Czechs, keeping the pressure on. Kushera gets it back to his defenceman Serban. He fires it across to Smelik. His shot is blocked, and the Russians try to kill the penalty. Serban gets it to Volk. Now the Russians get the chance to clear, and Sergeyev hoists it down the ice. Here come the Czechs through Jelinek. Well, that looked like a penalty. He was hauled down and banged his head on the boards, but the referee doesn't like to give penalties once he's already given one. Nearest we got to was a 7-second overlap earlier for two Russians in the box. Czech power play only just getting into the Russian zone, and then the big shot coming through from Jelinek while Gudas tied his man up.
Well, they really haven't had any sustained pressure at all, Gary, with this.
Well, little incident behind the play. Says we're going to have a face-off outside the zone. Here it is. Jelinek. This is the one where Jelinek's hauled down and then bangs himself on the board, and he gets a bit upset, I think, about this.
Well, I keep saying some of these guys dive all the time. I think the referee doesn't know when they're diving or when they're hauled down.
Well, Kravchuk's drawn a penalty for roughing, as Gudas draws one for holding for the Czechoslovakians. So there's Gudas, goal scorer, only a young player. And I think he was just looking after his teammates. And
well, he's been involved in most everything tonight, Gary. He got the one goal.
There'll be coincidental penalties. Zalapukin already in the box, and that means that the teams don't play any shorter-handed for those coincidental penalties. Just listening to Christina Eldrum calling it. We did get it right. Kravchuk for roughing, Gudas for holding. 90 seconds to go, second period, and the Czechs still lead it by 2-1, and here come the Czechs. Serban watches Jelinek. He's all fired up at the moment, Jelinek. Round the boards, Danko. Jelinek plays it off a Russian defenceman. No joy there. Serban deflected high onto the plexiglass. Montevril sees what the options are, fakes the shot, doesn't go in front himself. Deep in the corner with Dolizal. Nothing given there. That was a bad dive, really.
The Russians are chasing here. They're not letting them settle down at all.
And the Russians get the chance to break themselves. Here's Bure. Puts it forward. Bucajev can't collect though. Kamensky can. And then it's squirted away and the Czechs come forward. 3-on-1 break. And I think the shot came off the post, didn't it?
That was great.
Oh, bouncing puck. Marjan covers up. Cool as you like, slips it in the back of the
Nice 3-on-2. They tend to work it around so much. I would have thought the man in the high slot area could have just taken the shot. I mean, this guy here walked into a good quality shot area right there, past it.
Yeah, he hits the post.
Well, I suppose if it had gone in, I wouldn't have said a word about it, but they certainly do work that puck around.
Well, Kolnick, we've seen him score in this tournament, and he nearly got one there.
That's the difference about a quarter inch there.
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia could dearly use a goal right now. They could use that little extra lift right now.
There's the hooter. End of the second. The Czechoslovakians go in for the second break. 2-1 to the good. Shots on goal, as we called it, really. The Czechs more in the game, second period. How do you see it going?
Well, I think the Czechoslovakians had a good part of the second period, and you know, they had some scoring opportunities, as did the Russians, of course. But Czechoslovakia better not sit back on the one-goal lead. If they do that, they're going to find themselves in trouble. But the way they played, I think it'll be a wide-open period.
Even strength then, and it's the Czechoslovakians who come through centre ice and wind up for the big shot. Marjan just lets that one go wide and lets his teammates shuffle it out.
They're starting off tight. Neither team's really committed themselves.
Well, Konstantinov's got a job to do here, but he pokes it past Volk. Konstantinov, the Russian captain, having a good game, leading from the front and the back. Defenseman Danko shuffles it forward. Bucaev gets it across to the right wing to Bure, but although he got the glove to it, he couldn't control it. Well, that looked like a harsh call there for offside.
Well, both teams a bit scrambly, Gary. They're both playing in the neutral zone, and each team standing the other one up quite well. So it's obviously right now neither one is prepared to give up a goal. They're going to have to keep it tight for a while.
Kamenski there going to the bench for a well-earned rest. And the Czechs win the draw and start to bring it out from their own end, but high wood on it for the Russians, breaks it up, and now they just manage to force it forward, the Czechs. Gudas gets it down into that end where it can do least damage, but from which the Russians could well mount an assault. That's tipped forward, icing the call. K.Larkingh was willing to chase it down. The linesmen say, although it was tipped behind the red line, so it's icing anyway. We have a face-off just to the right of Marjan, with Sergejev on the blue line with Zitnik for the Russians. Kozlov takes the draw. And now Smirnov buys it around the boards.
You still get that feeling, Gary, that the Russians have got a little something left. I think at any time they could open the game up.
And Gudas gets in a tangle and wins it against Shamnov. Now Smirnov scuttles back to get possession and play it to Д.Местников. Д.Местников gives it back. Zelepukin breaking left wing. 2-on-1 break. And he does nothing with it. Good defensive play from Gudas.
Yeah, excellent play, Gary.
Drops down and breaks it up, but it was a 2-on-1, a little bit of air under the puck, and the Russians would have had a good opportunity to score. Now the Czechs bring it forward through Tupal. Quiet game for him so far, compared to what the Czech fans are used to expecting from him.
The referee's letting a lot go here. There's a lot of tripping, hooking, interference going on. I just hate to see him now call a kind of a cheap penalty that could turn the game either way. He's let it go so this far, he's pretty well has to let it go the rest of the game.
Sergejev gets it across to the left wing. But the big blast goes wide. And the Czechs haven't got it clear yet. Half decent hit centre ice. And a stop from Marjan on a blast from Lubina, and then the dive to cover up.
Well, there was panic stations there. The defenseman skated right by the goalie and tried to take the net off the moorings. I think he was prepared for anything.
Well, Lubina could have done more there. He was bouncing around. I'd like to say whether the defenseman or the forward got the last touch. Does Kolnick get a piece of it? Yeah. Goes down as 2 shots on goal, both saved. The Russians bring it forward through Shamnov.
Well, both goalies now have kept their teams in it.
Gordiuk brings it out of the corner. Just to be sure, Hartman covers up. He fancies a win in his stats column, doesn't he, Hartman? Kastak called for slashing, the referee says. 3:27 gone in the third period. Now that could be costly. Power play then to the Russians. They trail it by 1-2. Kamil Kastak, 2 minutes for slashing at 3:27.
Well, the last power play cost the Czechoslovakia the goal, and they really have to be careful. This last thing they need right now is to start giving up penalties.
Well, the Russians bring it forward, but that one peters out. The Czechs just floored it down the ice. Zamlika forechecking, trying to make the Russians play it. Now they do. Nemchinov. He drops it off. They try route 1. That doesn't work. So they'll have to go back and start again. Captain Konstantinov. Buczajev. Gets it onto the stick. Kamensky. Now the blue line. And they wind up for the shot. Kravchuk.
It's surprised to see that long shot, Gary. They tend. I would have thought before, you know, they used to always work it around, wait for basically the perfect play. They've been tending to shoot here lately in the last couple of power plays.
Of course, if the power play doesn't work, they could start to get a bit frustrated, the Russians. Here comes Kamensky. Fake the big shot, tried to put it over for a deflection, nothing came of it. He's got another chance now. Loses out, and the Czechs get the chance to clear. That'll do, says Jelinek.
Well, the Czechs are doing a good job here. They managed to keep the play to the outside, forcing the Russians to shoot.
Well, that was dangerous, but Danko got a stick in. Now he's got it over. We've got a 2-on-zip break. The biggest hit of the night from a Russian. Konstantinov.
It's got to be his own goal. Got to be a penalty. That's the second time they've tried that.
A little bit of trouble. He'll go for delaying the game. The Czechs just got back to full strength. Konstantinov takes the goal off. Side in trouble.
I don't know. I find it hard to believe they let him off with it.
I don't think they have.
Surprised the first time he got away with it.
I don't think they have let him off, Alex. The extra man came straight from the box. Well, to be fair to him, I think he was all tied up. But he's got it. 2 minutes, delaying the game. 5:30 gone. They've kicked the goal off its moorings before tonight, and I think he's got that penalty for those infringements as much as this one.
Those goals just don't fall off. You've got to, you've got to work at it.
It was a fairly big hit, wasn't it? Kozlov tries to win the draw as the Russians go from power play to penalty kill in a matter of seconds, 3 to be precise. Well, the Russians will want to kill this penalty and then do something about that 1-goal Czechoslovakian lead. The Czechs making a meal of that one again. Sledger hauling himself to the ice. I mean hauling himself to the ice. Smirnov fires it into his own bench. Well, coach Stanislav Nevsly defying the odds at the moment. His side lead it.
Well, he certainly needs a result here. I think if they're going to try to stay in the standings whatsoever, I don't think a draw isn't really good enough for them. I think they really got to beat Russia. Well, the Czechs are in a situation right here now, Gary. They could open up a 2-goal lead, and that would certainly put them in a good position.
Well, they'd all stand up in the goal crease, wouldn't they? They'd all copy Sledger's example and go back there.
Well, yeah.
Down.
I think right now anything to beat the Russian team coming into the World Championships in another month and a half, they certainly use a good result against this club right now.
Well, it's the Czechs who bring it forward, but it's the soft dump onto Marjan. Russians managed to get it forward. Serban goes back, falls over. Scherer tries to win it and does. Delana brings it forward. Down the wing. Buys it round. Serban plays it back. Delana goes for it alongside Kushera. And they lose out. Russians doing a good job on this penalty. Serban lobs it forward to Delana. Kushera goes wide. Not much of an option there for him.
The Czechs haven't really even looked as if they're going to threaten.
The Russians just about killed this penalty now. Back to full strength. If it goes according to my plan, they'll build on that penalty kill and try and do something about the scoreline, which still reads Czechoslovakia 2, the Russians 1. Well, that's covered up by Hartmann. Pops into the big lobster pot. He says, thank you very much, let's have a whistle, let's take the steam out of this one.
Yeah, the Russians had them turned around their end zone again, and I think the Czechs again are finding themselves in trouble. That power play was bad. They really needed something to happen there. I think you got there, Gary.
You're nearer to a doctor than me. Peter Volk getting treatment. Key player for the Czechs. He's got a goal tonight. Makes things happen. Smelik gets it down, and the long blast comes in from Zemlika. He's had a good game, Zemlika. Certainly got involved. There's Robert Lang. Good old Czechoslovakian name, that, Robert Lang. And here goes Zemlika. Two double teamed into the boards. It pays off for the Russians because they come up with the puck through Shamnov. Shamnov tries to stick handle through. Two defensemen. One too many. Yes, the Russians have got one. It's an equaliser. Kamensky, the big guy. Well, he's been through that crease more than once already tonight. And this time he makes it pay. 8:40 gone.
He's a big, strong player, Gary. He just drove to the net. A bit lucky, but the thing is, at least he tried it. He drove hard to the net, went around the defenseman.
He's virtually earned a goal tonight, hasn't he? He's got into this kind of position more than once.
Yeah, he's worked hard. He's not afraid to go to the net either, which is something good. Big, strong fella. There was a good pick set on the play just behind to let that happen. It was one of those plays where the referee didn't possibly watch it. Could have been a penalty, but now we've got a hockey game. Czechoslovakia got to get serious here again. They're getting hemmed up in their own end a little too much.
Kamensky nearly smiled, not quite, but nearly smiled. Goal to Kamensky, then 8:40 gone, third period. 11 minutes to go. The Sweden hockey games, and it's Czechoslovakia 2, Russia 2. Danko, a big player for the Czechs.
Can't really blame him for that goal, Gary. He did everything right. It was just one of those lucky bounces, really, and it went in.
Well, you can't tie someone up who weighs 190, 200 pounds, 6 feet 3 inches all night long, can you?
No.
Somewhere along the way, he's going to get away.
He's had his chances, you know. I think Czechoslovakia are lucky he's only got the one goal.
Well, the Czechoslovakians had a 2-goal lead, and the Russians have come back into it with some steady play. Cool heads. And now, can they go in the lead? Never led in this one. 2 goals apiece now. First line out there. Smirnov plays it round the boards.
Well, that was a funny play.
It was that man Sledger again, wasn't it? That looked like a hook.
He wasn't even near the play. And
Marjan goes for the bench.
Now the Russians are going to get a power play.
We said it before, but Sledger's had an eventful game, hasn't he? Well, there's the whistle at last.
But I hate to pick on the refereeing, but you know, that's just typical right there. Somebody's hit behind the play. He turns around, he catches the retaliation.
Well, he does put the hook on him. They only call the retaliation, and now the Russians get a power play opportunity to try to take the lead. Sledger for hooking at 9:40, and it's Czechoslovakia 2, Russia 2, with the Russians going on to the power play. We'll be back with it after this break. Game's last 10 minutes, the Russians go on to a power play with a 2-2 scoreline, a power play courtesy of a hooking penalty against Sledger, and referee J.Johansson called it at 9:40, so we're into the last 10 minutes just about, and it's a 2-2 scoreline with the Russians coming from 2-0 down. Gary Moran and Alex Stampier covering the Sweden hockey games, and the Russians have a win to their credit over Finland, but we did say the Czechs could cause them problems, and that's the way it's turned out to be.
Well, you know, the first period, I think the Russians could have buried them, and you know, then Czechoslovakia got back into it, and it's been a tight game ever since. Unfortunately, now I think the Russians are in a position, if they can get their power play together here, they could go ahead. But you know, there's still 10 minutes left. Anything can happen here.
Well, the Czechs had a good go at penalty killing last time round. They managed to kill that one. So while Sledger watches from the box, perhaps they'll manage it again. Here come the Russians through J.Namestnikov. Stick handles through nicely. Plays it round the back. Can't find Shamnov though. And the Czechs get the chance to clear through Kushera. He just fires it down the ice. Konstantinov's been involved in a lot for the Russians in this one. Czechs played off the boards though. Goes all the way. Nice Schmelik. Russians going very deep for this one. Goal scorer Kamensky. Takes it a long way. And comes round to get it out to point. And they fire it back in. Kamensky trying to set them up.
There again, Gary, they're shooting and there's nobody in front of the net. It just seems out of character for the Russians to make plays like that.
Well, it was Kravchuk's shot, and then Captain Konstantinov couldn't keep it in, and the Czechs get it out of the zone, off the boards. The Russians have to regroup, and that pass goes astray. This is Gudas, the goal scorer, takes his time, and just softly floats it down the ice. And with Dolezal chasing, forcing the Russians, prompts another mistake. No whistle. Oh, he was levelled. That's the end of the penalty. Well, the Czechs have done well to kill off the man advantage to the Russians. Big shot from Tichy joining the attack. Well, the Russians could get frustrated.
Well, they didn't really get much of a scoring chance there. They had the power play and didn't get much of a setup. But you got to give the Czechoslovakians credit. They didn't lay down whatsoever. They're still working hard, and they're still threatening.
Well, Coach Neversley will be telling his boys to stay out of the bin now, won't he?
Well, you can't afford penalties this time of night.
I mean, they'd like a win against the Russians, but a draw would suit them as well. Here's the young defenseman. Well, that's another cover-up from Hartmann. He'll take the whistles now.
That was a good move. That Russian came in there, real nice move on the defense, set up a screen and got the shot.
Comes in from the right wing and fires around the player. Good attempt by Bure. Hartmann equal to it though. He's been good.
Well, he's gonna have to be good for the next 7 or 8 minutes, because I think the Russians will probably put a lot of pressure on here. They're really in need of a win here. The draw isn't really all that much good to them. It could boil down to a final game.
Yeah, that final game scheduled at the moment, the way it looks, could be Russia against Sweden playing for the title in these games. We'll have to wait and see what the Czechs do in the closing minutes of this one, or the Russians for that matter. And a draw would keep the Russians well in it still.
Well, the Czechs could really do the Swedes a favour here if they could knock Russia off.
But the Russians, of course, would still be unbeaten, so it would all be all to play for, as they say. A little bit of urgency needed, though, in the play now, and here come the Russians. Big shot from J.Namestnikov. Well, Sergeyev kept it in and then the Czechs managed to get it out. 2-2, third period. I don't think that's the scoreline we thought we were going to get, especially when all that early pressure went in from these boys in red.
Well, I'm sure the Russians thought they'd crack it sooner or later, and it just hasn't come. They've scored 2 goals, but they must have had 20 really good chances, and very unlike the Russian machine. Usually expect to see 10 goals in by now with that many chances.
Well, no wonder there's a stony stare from Mr. Tikhonov on this one.
Yeah, training session might be a little bit tougher tomorrow.
A little bit of skating, do you think? A few press-ups on the ice?
Probably no nets on the ice.
Apart from the ones being pushed around by the boys on the knees. Mironov fires it from a long way out and Hartmann just turns it aside. Shamnov and Gordiuk whistle behind the play and come up with the puck for the Russians and then lose it. And the Czechs manage to bring it forward. Lubina, he's seeing a lot more ice time now. And Lubina dives but can't get there before Nemchinov. Nemchinov fires it all the way around but only gets it to Tupal and Tupal lofts it out.
The Czechs are doing a real good job in their own end right now. They're shutting down the points. They're not allowing those long point shots. And they're covering up well in front of the net. They keep that up, and they shouldn't have too many problems.
Gordiuk's shot poses no problem. Now the Czechs trying to pose a problem at the other end. Kishera goes in. Nothing comes of that. Now Chichi goes back, and with a little bit of help from his friends, from his Czech mate, he manages to get it forward. Here comes Peter Volk. To Serban. Serban has to circle though. I get the feeling the Czechs are settling for a draw and the Russians want the win.
Well, it appears right now that the Czechs are getting a little more control of the game. I'm surprised the Russians haven't started to dominate. I always feel that they've just got that little extra to give, and they just don't seem to have it right now.
Well, are we going to see it?
Czechs are doing a good job, taking their man well.
Serban took his man on the boards there well. Well, that one's gone high. I think that's what they call a Gary Owen in a different sport. In this one, it's just called a good clearance that got us a whistle.
Well, I hate to see the Czechs sit back. I don't think they will. I think they're hungry to win. This is it's be a good feather in their cap right now. They could knock the Russians off,
or at least draw. They're on schedule for a draw at the moment. It's 2 apiece. Danko fires it forward. Marjan plays it, so there's no icing whistle. The Russians get it forward through Kravchuk and Bucsajev. But the Czechs got back in numbers and hustled well. Kolnik tries the long shot. Jelinek chases it down. I bet they weren't exchanging recipes.
Well, I don't think we'll see any penalties called now. He hauled that Czech player down, but he wrestled him down. Sort of Calgary Stampede style, there was nothing done.
Well, the referee might be a little bit nervous about calling penalties because there's every chance they'll settle the outcome of the game. 2-2. The powerhouses of Eastern European hockey. As are players over in the NHL that could play for the national teams. I'm sure both want to show how well they can do without those professionals.
I can't really see the Russians taking any of their players back, really, Gary. I think they're probably too proud. They probably would hate to suggest that they don't have the depth. They have to rely on guys that have gone to North America to play.
And they've got quite a few players to choose from, of course.
Oh yeah, they do.
Here come the Russians down the right wing, but it's smothered again. And Uvajev is forced to backhand. In and Hartmann gets enough of it to spoil it. Medrick gets it forward. Zemlika, he's working hard. It's tied up on the boards. At least he's got it down there. Uvajev. Real good looking. player, plays with a rugged style as well. Zemlika again tries to get in. Uvajev gets out the way and lets his teammate clear. The Czechs have to go deep to try and get something going. Medric.
But the Czechs are really playing with confidence right now, Gary. They're moving the puck around, they're trying to keep control, and the Russians right now seem to be the ones that are flustered. Very unusual for this time of night.
Well, Sledge is out there. Things tend to happen when Sledge is on the ice. Kolnick clears it. Up the ice to Tupal. Tupal stick handles his way around one man. Can't get the pass through.
Yeah, it looks like the Russians are just settling for a draw right now. They're just shooting the puck out. They're under quite a bit of pressure.
Last 2 minutes in the game. J.Namestnikov dumps it in. The Russians following now. Snapshot would do with a goal for Kozlov, but it's way off target. Comes Kravchuk. Goal scorer gets it forward to Kozlov. He's hauled down, no penalty. Russians try to keep it in there, but it comes around the boards. Now Kravchuk has to try and get it back in.
Well, the way the game's gone, Gary, a draw would almost seem fair right now. First period obviously was dominated a bit by Russia, but from then on it's been fairly equal, and you'd hate to see either team lose with this short time left.
Well, it looks as though you could get your wishes, unless someone gets a snapshot away or a breakaway. Will it be the Czechs on a break? Here comes Volk. Kishera takes the drop pass, fires it in. I don't know if Margin got a piece of it or it just missed the target, but that could be the Czechs' last chance.
It wasn't far off target.
Here comes Kamensky, Bucejev. They're trying to keep it in there, but Gudas gets the chance to clear, plays it around. The Russian tied up, Bure, and goes for it himself. And the Czech attempt to dump it in fails the first time, but Gudas goes in to try again and plays it off his knees behind the Russian net. Now they'll settle for a whistle and a face-off deep in Russian territory, but the referee tells them to play it. Finally he blows the whistle. And it's getting a little bit frustrated in there. Jelinek stands his ground. There's a little poke with a stick, just a tap. Here's Peter Volk, drops it off for Kuchera. Good slap shot, just not on target. Then the puck went into the corner for a bit of argy-bargy.
He might have just clipped the crossbar there. There's a bit of tension in the crowd. I think all 2,000 people are cheering for Czechoslovakia. They'd love to see the Russians lose a game here and give their home team a bit of a...
Give them a boost, wouldn't it? But it doesn't look as though that's going to be the case. 2-2. Timeout called here by that man, Stanislav Nevsly, just to take the heat out of it, I think.
Well, you know, he's had some key players out there, and I think he'd like to keep them on for the last shift, and he has to have something sorted out. The Russians are always dangerous in the last minute. You can't write anything off with them.
The Russians really paying the price for complacency. They had all that pressure, they had all that domination early on, and they just didn't get fired up enough to force the extra shot. Or
I'm a bit surprised, really, because I think there's a lot of players on the Russian team who are probably fighting for a spot in that club to see who's actually going to go away and represent the country at the World Championships.
Well, this one heading for a draw, 2 apiece. Last few seconds, the first line goes out there for Russia, of course. Stantinov. Good game on defence, the captain. Pushed forward when he thought the forwards needed help. Forwards out there with him at the moment, Bure, Kamensky, and Bucejev.
Kamensky's been a key man. He's done a lot of work tonight. He's created a lot of chances, and in fact he scored one of the goals, so he's...
Well, Shamnov's out there for the Russians now. Helping Mironov on defence. Get it forward. Look at that big guy, Kamensky. Gets it behind the net. He's a chance for the Russians. And there's the hooter. A little bit of stick work going on right on the finish. Oh, there's a cross check. There's a cheap shot. Well, the hooter's gone now. Now we're all getting all fired up. Gudas uses a straight arm to keep Bure away.
We transferred over to Boston Gardens here all of a sudden there.
Well, they got well stuck in there, Shamnov. And then a couple of Czechoslovakians came in and gave him a bit of a cuffing. That's the final hooter in amongst all of that. And it's finished Czechoslovakia 2, There's a half-hearted cross-check, and Jelinek comes in and gives him one. Dolizal joins in. Gudas goes over. And, well, it got a little bit chippy and feisty all of a sudden at the end, and
I'm sure the Swedes were hoping it would be a bench clearance. They could lose a few players to the next round or next game.
Well, you've enjoyed that one, I suppose. 2-2 draw, final score. The players line up. I don't think they're going to make a rush at each other. But